Marvel Studios is on track to get a major shakeup later in 2026 when Avengers: Doomsday finally arrives in theaters. Officially, Marvel Studios first began operating in 1993 under the banner of Marvel Films. Then, in 1996, they settled on the name Marvel Studios, and their primary purpose was to license their brands to other studios. It wasn't until 2004 that Marvel Studios started to take an interest in releasing their own films, and it wasn't until 2007, when Kevin Feige took over as president, that things began to move with their first official fully funded and produced project, Iron Man, being released in 2008. Since then, the MCU has exploded in popularity, and established one of the largest and most successful franchises ever created. The MCU has not been the same since Avengers: Endgame. Unfortunately, despite the spectacular success of early releases in the MCU and the momentum that was built up towards the end of the Infinity Saga, things have somewhat fallen apart in the wake of one of the biggest film releases of all time. Avengers: Endgame generated $2.799 billion, which upon its release, made it the highest-grossing movie ever made. Prior to that, the MCU had gotten into a trend of releasing billion-dollar hit after billion-dollar hit. For much of this run, the absolute floor of what these movies earned was around the $500 million mark, which meant every movie was at least doubling the investment put into it, but often going far beyond. Since Avengers: Endgame, Marvel Studios have put out a further 14 films in the Multiverse saga before Spider-Man: Brand New Day, with only 2 of these managing to cross the billion-dollar threshold. Evidently, things have not been quite as good since Tony Stark sacrificed himself, the Avengers went their separate ways, and COVID forced the film and TV industries to shake things up. Avengers: Doomsday could change everything for Marvel Studios' future. However, all hope is not lost for the superhero genre. With Avengers: Doomsday set to bring Robert Downey Jr. back in a new role, joined by his former allies, Chris Evans' Steve Rogers and Chris Hemsworth's Thor, there is a great deal of excitement about the upcoming release. Add to that the fact that this movie is directed by the Russo Brothers, who also directed Captain America: Civil War, Avengers: Infinity War, and Avengers: Endgame, and the excitement is multiplied. While Marvel Studios, and the entire superhero genre at large, has been in kind of a slump, Avengers: Doomsday is opening the door for a major revival in the MCU. Not only could it generate billions if fans of Avengers: Endgame come back to see what happens next on a larger scale, but it will also launch the MCU into one of its most hotly anticipated eras of all time. After the Multiverse saga concludes, there has been confirmation that the X-Men and mutants will be at the heart of the next MCU saga. Considering how the Fox X-Men movies also had an enormous following, and the story of these mutant characters continues to be one of the most popular Marvel has ever produced, it offers renewed hope that the future of the MCU could be brighter than the last 6 years. Avengers: Doomsday needs to do better than just $1 billion. But, if Avengers: Doomsday is to bring Marvel Studios back to its former glory, it can't just earn $1 billion. Avengers: Doomsday has the enormous responsibility of restoring the excitement and energy that surrounded Avengers: Endgame, in order to keep the MCU alive. Of course, it seems like Marvel Studios is certainly giving it the best possible chance to make that happen with the all-star returning cast and crew, but the fate of the MCU lies with the fans, and whether they get as excited about this film as they did for the movie that crowned the incredible Infinity Saga from 2008 to 2019. Fingers crossed that Avengers: Doomsday won't spell the beginning of the end, but rather a new beginning for Marvel Studios. Avengers: Secret Wars and the Mutant Saga can take the MCU to new heights. For many people, the Infinity Saga was an incredible culmination of decades of anticipation, with a story that brought several major heroes together and saw them face off against their most powerful rival yet, in the form of Thanos, the Mad Titan. This was the perfect payoff for everything that Marvel built, but it also left the MCU in a limbo when the Multiverse saga had to start from scratch and build a new team. 6 years on from the start of the Multiverse saga, many stories have appeared on TV, along with the 14 feature films, and in all of that time, there has hardly been any crossovers between sub-franchises. And while this allows for individual stories to be built up, it has lost some of the spark of the interconnected nature of the Infinity Saga. But thankfully, that's about to change too. While Avengers: Doomsday is set to bring several major superhero teams together, with some fighting against one another, Avengers: Secret Wars has the potential to take things even bigger. With Battleworld bringing the universe to an end, and forcing numerous heroes and villains to compete against each other, this movie could easily surpass Avengers: Doomsday in terms of ambition and scale, similar to how Avengers: Endgame overtook Avengers: Infinity War. Avengers: Secret Wars is also set to be a soft reboot for the Marvel Universe, allowing for the next saga to move forward uninhibited by the considerable weight of thousands of hours of TV and film that have led to that moment. While that has created a stunning shared universe, the weight has also become too heavy and prohibitive for new fans to be able to hop on board. Following on from that, the Mutant Saga has the opportunity to tell some of the most provocative, intriguing, and captivating stories that comics have ever put out into the world. The Avengers have provided a lot of material for a lot of years, but Marvel Studios needs to shift the focus, and by bringing in the mutants, it is doing just that. All of this goes to show that Avengers: Doomsday is about to change everything for Marvel Studios, and hopefully, it's enough.